Hello, my name is Ginger Renee Hughes, and I will be looking at Kathleen Blake Yancey's Made Not Only with Words, Composition in a New Key, and examining some of the roots that ground her article. In her introduction, she says, "We have a moment. These moments, they aren't all alike, nor are they equal, and how we value them is in part a function of how we understand them, how we connect them to other moments, and how we anticipate the moments to come. For compositionists of this time and of this place, this moment right now is like none other." She points out two key factors about writing. One, never before has the proliferation of writing outside the academy so counterpointed the compositions inside, and never before have the technologies of writing contributed so quickly to the creation of new genre. These factors raise a series of questions about what our references to writing mean. At the time this article was published, the national standard for grading, what she calls the alphabet soup of assessment, the SAT, the ACT, the NEAP, writing was still composed by students on paper with pen and pencil for assessment. Since that time, we've seen a shift from merely words on paper to computer-composed writing, and in some cases even a shift in the technological assessment of those compositions. Given the article was printed almost a decade ago, rather than view some of Yancey's information as dated, I'd like to think of it as a foresight of what has come to be and what is yet to come. Yancey stated that students are not just writing on paper for assessment purposes, but are also composing words and images and creating audio files on blogs and word processors with video editors and web editors and in email and on presentation software and in instant messaging and on listservs and bulletin boards, and no doubt in whatever genre will emerge in the next 10 minutes. We have been witness to what the next 10 minutes brought forth. For example, text messages, and in many communal online social networks. She also makes a point that no one is making anyone do any of this writing, and asks, how is it that what we teach and what we test can be so different from what our students know as writing? For that matter, what is writing? Is it the ability to move textual resources among spaces as suggested by Johnson Ilola? Is composing, as James Porter suggests, not only about medium, but also specifically about technology? And what about the circulation of writing, their relationship to the various modes of delivery? My computer is slowing down, sorry about that. And what do these questions mean with respect to another kind of delivery? The circular and pedagogical delivery of college composition in the classroom to seminar room to online chat room to studio. In Negative Spaces, From Production to Connection in Composition, printed in 1998, in Literacy Theory and the Age of the Internet, and at a speech on computers at Computers in Writing Town Hall at Illinois University in 2002, Johnson Ilola states that writing has always been about making connections, whether between writer and readers across time and through space. The reminder is essential in the connection to Jim Porter's remarks about the importance of the role of technology. Jim Porter's contribution, Why Technology Matters in Writing, a cyber writer's tale, in a 2002 Computers in Composition, he gives a personal narrative that tracks his development as a writer over time, from handwriting to typewriting to cyberwriting, and he shows how each new writing technology influenced his practices. Porter begins his journey from pencil-based handwriting and proceeds through internet-worked computers. In the beginning, he muses that it would be an odd essay addressing egocentric question: how have writing technologies changed my writing process, my conception of writing, and my understanding of rhetoric over time? First, my development as a writer, then as a teacher of writing, and eventually as a member of the field of computers and writing. He further explains that Cyberwriter's tale is his own pencils to pixels, even though he disagrees with Dennis Barrett. Our class discussion on Blackboard in the pencil to pixel thread reiterates Porter's journey. He says that in first grade, we practiced and practiced and practiced our drawing letters and to get the angles and the sizes and the positioning and the quality of the ovals and loops just right. First printing, then later in second grade, cursive. We did a lot of writing, not to express ideas, but to form beautiful letters. Later, we advanced to correctly spelled words, and then finally to legible prose. Good penmanship was a sign of virtue, character, discipline, and proper training. It distinguished us from them. Sloppy penmanship revealed an undisciplined education. He reminisces about these pencils without erasers to point out that it was more about learning the craft of handwriting rather than developing content, that teachers wanted to see errors, discouraging the hiding of any flaws. Porter emphasizes James Clambach that it was a writing pedagogy that led students to fixate on appearance rather than content. Porter's odyssey with technology continues in the 60s with the coveted Schaefer cartridge pen, where there was no such thing as correction fluid. You thought before you wrote so that you could write correctly the first time. Crossing out was not allowed. And it was definitely a product-oriented pedagogy. In 1968, he learned to type in a required high school class and emerged typing 70 words per minute. He says his keyboarding speed and proofreading lessons in that typing class helped him immensely. These skills made writing production fast and relatively easy, made his documents look good, and sharpened his editorial eye. In graduate school, he encountered a rebuilt electric typewriter, a 1970s IBM Selectric, at which point he was still using longhand for drafting. He said typing and typing and retyping the same lines over and over forced him to examine, reread, contemplate, and refine his style. That process of retyping, a stage that word processing software has eliminated nowadays, helped him as a writer. It wasn't until 1978, when Porter was doing his doctoral work, that he consciously eliminated the process of longhand drafting and began composing at the keyboard. While he worked as a professor at Purdue University in Fort Wayne, one of his colleagues, Steve Hollander, let him use his computer. Hollander helped him learn coding conventions for word processing. In 1984, Porter bought his own state-of-the-art Tandy Radio Shack TRS-80 Model 4P, running on the DOS operating system with a 64K RAM, and it used a 5¼ inch floppy disk. Wait, what did he say? 64 kilobytes? That's unheard of in today's world, since we tend to measure storage in gigabytes. Let's break that down for perspective on that technological advance. 1024 kilobytes equals 1 megabyte. 1024 megabytes equals a gigabyte. Many of today's mobile phones have 16 to 32 gigs of memory. So a lower end iPhone 5 or an iPhone 4S conceivably has about the memory space of 262,184 state-of-the-art TRS-80 Model 4Ps. and which that had that random access memory. By 1988, Porter had joined the rhetoric composition department at Purdue, working with two colleagues we're familiar with, Patricia Sullivan and Gail Hollisher. He began teaching English 515, writing for specialty publications, senior level publishing course for writing majors. It was also the time he was introduced to the Macintosh SE. He says that time was a breakthrough moment. Switching from the clunky command line interface to the graphic user interface, teaching that class pushed him to consider visual design, page layout, and graphics as integral to rhetoric and writing. He and Sullivan taught themselves collaboratively and published professional writing, usability, computer-aided publishing, and the rhetoric of visual aid. Even though none of them owned a Mac, he and Sullivan worked evenings and weekends in a math lab honing skills, exchanging information with others, talking about writing projects, and teaching themselves to use Adobe PageMaker and the advanced functions of Microsoft Word. One of the features of this story is certainly the importance of social networks and personal health, as well as the value of having access to public labs. Whenever he pushed to another level of technology use, somebody was there to help give him a boost to the next level and that next set of skills. Porter says he was lucky enough to have good colleagues, friends, and family who encouraged him to use technologies and helped him negotiate new terrain. Once he had the boost to a new level or new set of skills, he could expand those skills and learn on his own. But that initial personal help or motivation made a difference. Sometimes this was one-on-one help, but often the help occurred in a community of practice, a group of people who were learning and theorizing and teaching each other about new writing technologies. Porter's personal odyssey is at the heart of Yancey's article. In her Symposium of Quartets, she points out the overlapping technology in social networking communities, how first-year composition can be a gateway instead of a gatekeeper of freshmen entering college. She promotes developing a new curriculum that answers some of the assessment practices, and she calls for new structural changes that support composition writing in advanced technological world. As technology continues to advance at the speed of light, it may serve us well to remember the roots of composition. Writing is about communication, and technological learning is cumulative. These are my visual references, and these are my text references.